Hello, I am Colin Bowersock, a postdoc at the University of Louisville. Today I'm going to be talking about some of my dissertation work, which is about measures of gait variability and their relationship to aging across the adult lifespan. So when we walk, each step we take is not identical to the last, meaning we don't walk like a robot, seen up here. Each step doesn't look exactly the same. When we walk, we have this natural variability in our gait. Sometimes we take shorter steps, longer steps, faster steps. Sometimes our swing time's slower, our knee flexion angle is larger. So we have this inherent natural variability in our gait. And research has shown that this variability is not random, but it has some underlying pattern to it and some structure. And the idea is this natural variability allows us flexibility and stability of our movement. So if there's some sort of perturbation or if there's something in our way, this natural variability will allow us to step around it or change our gait pattern slightly so that it's not a problem. Whereas if we were a robot and a curb was approaching, there's no way we can change the way we walk. So this is, what leads to falls or some other event. So in using these measures of gait variability, studies have shown differences between populations. So in looking at young and old individuals, they have different levels of gait variability. Same thing in fallers versus non-fallers, healthy and injured, healthy versus individuals suffering from disease. In this presentation, I'm going to be focused on the age-related differences in gait variability measures, so between the young and the old. So from these discovered age-related changes in variability measures, we have two age-related variability hypotheses that I will go over quickly and simplify quite a bit. On the left, we have the loss of complexity hypothesis. So this hypothesis states that our biological systems and our gait is inherently complex, and either due to loss of communication between elements or due to loss of elements itself, let's say due to atrophy or loss of some sort of central pattern generator, we lose the complexity and therefore we have a decrease in gait variability. On the right, we have the optimal variability hypothesis by Sturgio, and this states that healthy individuals have an optimal amount of gait variability, and as we age, we either have a stable and very low complex gait pattern, which leads to a overly stable and therefore inability to adapt to our environment, which can lead to falls, or we have a way too complex gait pattern, so way too much variability, which leads to instability and therefore possibly leading to falls. But a critique of the studies that have been used to come up with these hypotheses is that typically we're only comparing young and old, so 20 to 30-year-olds compared to 70-year-olds. So we're fairly unsure how the variability measures change truly across the lifespan and not just between very young and very old. So the purpose of this study was to determine the independent relationships between these measures of gait variability and age. I don't have time to go over all of them, but I will quickly mention them to those who are familiar. For our linear measures of gait variability, we use standard deviation and coefficient of variation. And for our nonlinear measures of gait variability, we use sample entropy, detrended fluctuation analysis, correlation dimension, and local dynamic stability. And again, we aim to determine how these measures changed over the aging process. In this study, we use multiple sources of data to quantify gait variability. So we use stride length, stride time, knee flexion angle, and pelvis motion. And using those data sources, we quantified gait variability using these measures, as mentioned on the previous slide. Our study participants were 21 to 71 years old, and we had them walk on a treadmill for 6 minutes, and during that time, that's when we captured these variables here. So overall, what we found was that there's little correlation between age and these measures of variability. The only significant correlations found between age and variability was coefficient variation of stride length, sample entropy of stride time, and preferred walking speed. So on the x-axis here we have age, the y-axis we have the variability value. So older individuals tended to have an increased stride length variability. They had increased stride time predictability as measured by sample entropy. And also, that's been reported many times before, older individuals tend to walk slower. And the correlation between age and speed was our strongest, had the highest R value, so explained most of the variance. So because speed explained the largest amount of variance, we decided to see if it was a better predictor of these gait variability measures than age, and indeed it was. It was significantly correlated with CV of stride length, sample entropy of stride time, sample entropy of stride length, correlation dimension of knee angle, and correlation dimension of pelvis in the vertical direction. So all these again are just other measures of gait variability, but overall what they shows a little relationship between age and gait variability, and instead speed as a better predictor of variability. So although we have found that there's differences between the young and old in measures of gait variability, it seems that it is a result of a decrease in gait speed with age, and these results may have us reframe the hypothesis that are surrounding gait variability in age that we often refer to. And with that, that is everything I have. Thank you guys for listening.